Jiho stared at the screen in front of him. The alien warship filled the display, blocking out the stars behind it. It was huge, maybe 3 times the size of the human vessel he worked on. The ship's metal surface looked dark and threatening, with strange patterns carved into its hull. He took a deep breath and adjusted his headset. "They're requesting permission to board," Captain Deho said from across the command deck. His voice was tight with tension. "We have to let them on. If we refuse, they'll take it as an insult." Jiho nodded. He was the communications officer on the Horizon's Edge, but today he had a different job. Today, he would be the liaison between humans and the Velari Empire. The Velari were known across the galaxy as warriors. Every species feared them. They had conquered 17 star systems in the last 100 years. Humans were new to space. Earth had only joined the galactic community 5 years ago. The Velari saw humans as weak and suspicious. This meeting could determine if humanity would be allowed to exist freely or be forced into servitude. "Send the docking approval," Captain Deho ordered. "And Jiho, remember what we discussed. Be polite, be careful. Don't give them any reason to attack." Jiho stood from his station and smoothed his uniform. He had studied the Velari language for 2 years. He knew their customs, their history, their formal gestures, but knowing about someone was different from meeting them face to face. He walked to the docking bay with 4 armed guards following behind him. The bay was clean and bright, with earth, flags hanging on the walls, and a small display of human artwork near the entrance. Jiho had insisted on the artwork. He believed that showing culture was just as important as showing strength. The airlock hissed open. Cold air rushed into the bay, smelling of metal and something else, something foreign and sharp. Then the Velari came through. Commander Thera entered first. She was massive, standing at least 7 feet tall. Her skin was covered in silver scales that caught the light. She had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. Her armor looked like it had grown from her body, dark and organic. 2 large eyes stared forward, calculating and cold. Behind her head, small tendrils moved slowly, like underwater plants swaying in current. Jiho felt his heartbeat quicken, but he kept his face calm. Behind Thera, 3 more Velari warriors entered. They all looked powerful and dangerous. Thera's eyes scanned the room. She looked at the guards, at the walls, at the ceiling. Everything about her movements was precise and controlled. Then her gaze landed on Jiho. He stepped forward and made the formal Velari greeting. He placed his right hand over his heart and bowed his head slightly. "Commander Thera," he said in the Velari language, his words careful and clear. "We welcome you aboard the Horizon's Edge. Your presence honors us." For a moment, Thera said nothing. The markings on her neck, small dots of bioluminescent color, flashed bright orange for just a second. Then they went dark again. Her face showed no emotion. "Human Jiho," she replied in her own language, her voice deep and clicking. "I am here to inspect your vessel. The Velari Empire must ensure you are not a threat. You will comply with all my requests." "Of course, Commander. I am assigned to guide you and answer your questions." Thera made a sharp gesture with one of her 4 hands. "Then begin. Show me your weapon systems first." Jiho led her through the ship. The other Velari warriors followed silently. The human guards stayed several steps behind. As they walked, Jiho explained what each section of the ship was for. Thera asked pointed questions about energy outputs, shield capabilities, and crew numbers. She was thorough and intelligent, but Jiho noticed something strange. As they passed through a corridor where several off-duty crew members were gathered, laughing and talking, Thera's head turned slightly toward them. The bioluminescent markings on her neck flickered again, this time with quick pulses of different colors. She looked away quickly, her expression hardening. They reached the weapons bay. It was small compared to what the Velari probably had. Thera inspected everything carefully, making notes on a strange device she carried. She seemed satisfied that humans were not hiding any superweapons. "You have minimal offensive capability," she observed. "Why does your species explore space if you cannot defend yourself?" Jiho smiled slightly. "We believe in making friends before we make weapons, Commander. We would rather talk than fight. One of the other Velari warriors made a clicking sound that Jiho recognized as scorn, but Thera held up one hand, silencing him. Her markings flickered again. An interesting philosophy, she said. Inefficient, but interesting. They continued the tour. After 2 hours, they reached the hydroponics bay. This was where the crew grew food and maintained earth plants for oxygen production. It was Jiho's favorite part of the ship. The room was warm and smelled like soil and growing things. Plants, from earth-filled rows of containers. Everything from vegetables to flowers. In the center of the bay stood a small tree. It was a cherry blossom tree carefully maintained by crew member Hana. She had grown it from a cutting she brought from Earth. Right now, it was covered in delicate pink flowers. Thera stopped walking when she saw it. She stood completely still, staring at the tree. Her bioluminescent markings started to change colors, cycling through patterns Jiho had never seen before. Blue, then purple, then gold, then orange. The colors moved across her skin like waves. "What is this?" she asked quietly. "It's a cherry blossom tree," Jiho explained. "It comes from Earth. It produces these flowers once a year, and then they fall away. We grow it because it's beautiful." Beautiful. Thera repeated the word slowly in the human language, as if testing it. "It serves no tactical purpose? No food value?" "No," Jiho agreed. "It exists only to be beautiful, to remind us of home and to make us happy when we look at it." Thera reached out with one hand, slowly, carefully. Her fingers stopped just before touching a flower petal. Her markings were still changing colors rapidly. The other Velari warriors behind her shifted uncomfortably, making small, clicking sounds. Jiho watched her face. For just a moment, something changed in her expression. The hardness softened. Her eyes looked different, almost sad. Then she pulled her hand back sharply. Her markings went dark. Her face became a mask again. "Inefficient use of resources," she said coldly. "The inspection will continue tomorrow. I require rest." She turned and walked toward the exit, but as she passed Jiho, he spoke quietly in Velari, words he had thought about carefully. "Commander Thera, before you go, I want to say something. You are like this tree, beautiful in your purpose." The words were simple, but in Velari culture, beauty was never discussed. Warriors were praised for strength, for victory, for control, never for beauty. Thera stopped walking. Her entire body went rigid. Her markings exploded into brilliant colors, every shade flashing across her skin at once. The other Velari stared at her in shock. This kind of display was a loss of control, something no warrior should show. Thera stood frozen for 3 long seconds. Then, without turning around, without saying a word, she walked quickly to the airlock. Her warriors followed, confusion clear on their faces. After they left, the human guards relaxed. "That went well, I think," one of them said uncertainly. Jiho stared at the closed airlock door. His heart was pounding. He had just seen something important, something that changed everything he thought he knew about the Velari. They weren't cold because they had no emotions. They were cold because they were desperately trying to hide them. And for just a moment, he had made Commander Thera feel something she couldn't control, something she might not have felt in years. He looked back at the cherry blossom tree, its delicate flowers swaying in the artificial breeze. Maybe there was hope for peace after all. Thera returned the next morning. Her face showed no emotion, and her bioluminescent markings were completely dark. She walked into the docking bay as if yesterday had never happened. But Jiho noticed the way she avoided looking directly at him at first. "We continue the inspection," she announced formally. "Show me your engineering section." Jiho led her deeper into the ship. Today only one other Velari warrior accompanied her. The others had stayed on their vessel. As they walked through the corridors, crew members stopped to stare. Some looked frightened. Others looked curious. Jiho greeted each person they passed by name. "You know all of them?" Thera asked. "Most of them. We're not a large crew. Only 200 people. And you speak to all of them? Even those lower in rank?" "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" Thera was quiet for a moment. "Velari commanders do not fraternize with lower ranks. It creates emotional weakness. Weakness leads to poor tactical decisions. Or maybe, Jiho said carefully, knowing your crew makes you fight harder to protect them. Thera's markings flickered pale blue just for a second. She said nothing. In the engineering section, they met Minho. He was the chief engineer, a cheerful man who loved explaining how things worked. When he saw Thera, he wasn't afraid. Instead, he smiled widely. "Commander, welcome to my domain. Do you want to see how our engines work? They're beautiful machines." Thera stared at him. "You describe machines as beautiful?" "Everything can be beautiful if you look at it right," Minho said. He launched into an explanation of the ship's propulsion system, pointing at different components with obvious pride and affection. He talked about the engines like they were living things he cared for. Thera listened carefully, asking technical questions. But Jiho saw her markings flickering occasionally, soft colors appearing and disappearing. She was trying to control them, but not completely succeeding. After an hour, they moved to the crew quarters. This was where people lived when they weren't working. The rooms were small but personal. Each crew member had decorated their space with items from home, photos, artwork, plants. "Why do they waste space on non-essential items?" Thera asked. "Because these things make them happy," Jiho explained. "Happy people work better. They stay healthy. They don't give up when things get hard. Velari do not need such things. We are disciplined." Jiho stopped walking and turned to face her. "Commander, can I ask you a personal question?" Thera's posture stiffened. "That is not appropriate." "I know, but I'm going to ask anyway. When was the last time you felt happy?" The question seemed to hit Thera like a physical blow. Her markings flashed bright red, then went dark immediately. The warrior behind her made a sharp clicking sound of warning. "Happiness is irrelevant," Thera said, her voice harsh. "Warriors exist to serve the Empire. Emotions compromise our effectiveness." "I don't believe that," Jiho said softly. "I saw your face yesterday when you looked at the cherry blossom tree. You felt something. Something good. That was weakness. I will not display such lack of control again." "It wasn't weakness. It was beautiful." Thera's entire body went rigid. Her 4 hands clenched into fists. For a moment, Jiho thought she might attack him. But instead she turned sharply and walked away down the corridor. Jiho followed, maintaining a respectful distance. He had pushed too hard, but he couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen. The Velari weren't stronger because they suppressed their emotions. They were suffering because of it. That evening, Jiho did something unexpected. He went to the communications room and sent a message to Thera's ship, requesting a private conversation. He didn't expect her to accept, but an hour later his console beeped. Thera had agreed to meet him in the ship's observation lounge. The lounge was empty when Jiho arrived. He waited, watching the stars through the large window. The Velari warship floated nearby, dark and imposing. Thera entered quietly. She was still in her armor, but she seemed different somehow. Tired, maybe. She stood near the door, not coming closer. "Why did you request this meeting?" she asked. "I wanted to apologize," Jiho said. "I pushed you about personal things. That was inappropriate. In your culture, those questions are offensive." "I'm sorry." Thera was silent for a long time. Then slowly she walked closer to the window. She stood several feet away from Jiho, both of them looking out at the stars. "You are not what I expected humans to be," she said finally. "Your species is weak. You have few weapons. Your ships are small. Your empire controls only one system. By every logical measure, you should not survive. Maybe we're strong in different ways." "Explain." Jiho thought about his words carefully. "My species believes that connections between people make us stronger. We feel emotions deeply and we don't try to hide them. When we're sad, we cry. When we're happy, we laugh. When we care about someone, we tell them. This doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. Velari are taught from childhood that emotions are the enemy," Thera said quietly. Her voice was different now, less formal. "We learn to suppress everything we feel. Warriors who show emotion are punished, demoted, sometimes executed. I have spent 40 cycles your years perfecting my control. But you still feel things. I can see it in your markings." Thera's hand moved to her neck, touching the bioluminescent spots there. "These markings are a remnant from our evolutionary past. Before we became warriors, before the Empire, my ancestors used them to communicate emotions. Now we are taught to keep them dark. A warrior with visible markings is a failed warrior." "That sounds lonely." Loneliness is also irrelevant. But her voice wavered slightly when she said it. Jiho made a decision. He walked to a control panel and activated the lounge's audio system. Soft music began to play, a gentle human melody with strings and flute. "What is this?" Thera asked. "Music. Do the Velari have music?" "We have military drums. Battle chants." "Nothing like this. This is a piece from Earth called Spring. A composer wrote it 300 years ago. He was trying to capture the feeling of flowers blooming and birds singing. Just beauty for the sake of beauty." They stood in silence, listening. Thera's markings began to glow softly, cycling through gentle colors. Blue, green, soft gold. She didn't try to hide them this time. "I don't understand why this makes me feel strange things," she whispered. "What kind of things?" "Sadness. But also something else. Something I don't have words for. Maybe joy? Or peace? Perhaps." Thera was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke again, her voice barely audible. "When I was young, before military training, I liked to watch the sunrise on my homeworld. The sky would turn colors, many colors like my markings. I would sit and watch and feel something warm inside. Then the trainers came and took me away. They said watching sunrises was wasteful. They taught me to stop feeling that warmth." "I'm sorry," Jiho said. "That must have hurt." "Warriors do not hurt. Everyone hurts, Commander. Even warriors." Thera turned to look at him directly for the first time. Her large eyes reflected the starlight. Her markings were glowing steadily now, soft and beautiful colors moving across her skin. "Why do you speak to me this way?" she asked. "Why do you call me beautiful? Why do you treat me like I am more than a weapon?" "Because you are more than a weapon. You're a person. A being with thoughts and feelings and worth beyond what you can do for others. That's what I see when I look at you." Thera's markings flashed brilliant gold. She looked away quickly. "I should return to my ship. The inspection continues tomorrow." She walked toward the door but stopped before leaving. Without turning around, she spoke one more time. "Thank you for the music, Jiho. I will remember it." Then she was gone. Jiho stood alone in the observation lounge. The music still played softly. Outside, the Velari warship remained dark and threatening. But something had changed. He could feel it. Somewhere on that warship, a warrior was remembering what it felt like to watch a sunrise. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to start something bigger. He thought about the days ahead. The inspection would conclude soon. Then political discussions would begin. The Velari Empire would demand that humans submit to their authority. Earth would refuse. War seemed inevitable, but Jiho had seen something in Thera's eyes tonight. Something the Velari Empire had tried to crush but couldn't completely destroy. Hope, longing, the desire for something more than endless battle. If one Velari warrior could remember how to feel, maybe others could too. Maybe there was a way to reach them. Not with weapons, but with simple human truth. That life was meant to be lived, not just survived. That beauty mattered. That connection mattered. Tomorrow he would continue trying. He would keep showing Thera that another way was possible. Because if humans had one strength, it was this. They never stopped believing that people could change, could grow, could become something better than what they were. Even warriors. Even aliens from across the galaxy. Even Commander Thera, who was beginning to remember what it felt like to be alive. The inspection ended on the third day. Thera filed her report with the Velari Empire, confirming that humans possessed no hidden weapons or advanced technology. Captain Deho received an official message from the Velari High Command. They demanded Earth submit to tributary status, paying taxes and providing resources to the Empire. Humanity had 1 week to decide. Everyone on the horizon's edge knew what would happen. Earth would refuse. War would come. The ship's crew moved quietly through their duties, fear hanging heavy in the air. But then something unexpected happened. Thera sent a personal message to Captain Deho. She requested a cultural exchange program before hostilities began. She wanted to bring 3 human representatives aboard the Velari warship for 7 days to observe Velari culture and help her people understand humans better. Captain Deho called Jiho to his office. "This is unusual. The Velari have never requested something like this before. Do you know why she wants this?" Jiho thought about the conversations he'd had with Thera. The music. The cherry blossom tree. The way her markings glowed when she forgot to control them. "I think she's trying to prevent a war," he said. "Or gathering intelligence for a more effective attack." "Maybe. But I don't think so. I think we changed something in her. And she wants to understand what. It's dangerous. You'd be on their ship surrounded by their warriors completely at their mercy. I know. But if there's any chance for peace, we have to try. Captain Deho studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Choose 2 others to go with you. And Jiho, be careful. The Velari Empire doesn't value life the way we do. Jiho selected Minho, the engineer, and Yuna, a xenobiologist who specialized in studying alien cultures. They packed simple bags and prepared themselves for a week in a hostile environment. The Velari warship was cold. Everything was metal and harsh angles. The lighting was dim and blue-tinted. There was no decoration, no color, nothing soft or welcoming. Warriors moved through the corridors in silence, their faces blank, their markings completely dark. Thera met them at the airlock. You will follow all rules. You will go nowhere without escort. You will not touch any equipment. You will observe only. We understand, Commander, Jiho said. She led them to their quarters, a single large room with 3 sleeping platforms and nothing else. No chairs, no table, no windows. After showing them where to get food and water, Thera left without another word. This is cheerful, Minho muttered, looking around the bare room. I've seen prison cells with more personality. Yuna was examining the walls. Fascinating. There's not a single personal item anywhere. Even the most militaristic human societies allow soldiers some individual expression. But here there's nothing. Jiho felt a deep sadness settling over him. They're not allowed to be individuals. They're only allowed to be weapons. Over the next 2 days, they observed Velari life. Warriors woke before dawn and trained for 4 hours, practicing combat techniques with brutal efficiency. Then they ate alone in their quarters, quick and silent. Then they returned to training or attended strategy meetings. In the evening, they went to their quarters and slept. There was no conversation beyond tactical necessity. No laughter. No community spaces where people gathered. No art, no music, no games. Just endless preparation for war. They're dying inside, Yuna said on the 3rd evening. I've been recording their biosigns when they don't know I'm watching. Stress hormones are through the roof. Depression markers are present in every warrior I've scanned. They're literally destroying themselves. Can we help them? Mingo asked. I don't know. But we have to try something. Jiho made a decision. He requested a meeting with Thera and asked permission to share a meal with her. She seemed surprised, but agreed. She came to their quarters that evening. Jiho had convinced the ship's food system to produce something more interesting than the nutritional paste the Velari usually ate. He'd made a simple human meal. Rice, vegetables, and seasoned protein. What is this? Thera asked, looking at the plates. Dinner. Please sit with us. There was no furniture, so they sat on the floor. Thera looked uncomfortable, unsure what to do. On her ship, warriors ate alone, standing, consuming food as quickly as possible. Try it, Jiho encouraged. Thera picked up a piece of food with one hand. She ate it slowly. Her markings flickered slightly. It has flavor. Of course it does. Food should taste good. It's one of life's pleasures. They ate together. At first, Thera was silent, but Minho started telling stories about Earth, about growing up in the mountains, about the first time he saw the ocean. Yuna added her own stories. Jiho talked about his grandmother's garden and how she taught him to grow tomatoes. Thera listened. Her markings began to glow softly, colors Jiho was learning to recognize. Curiosity, interest, longing. Why do you share these personal details? She asked. They serve no tactical purpose. Because they make us who we are, Yuna explained. We're not just crew members with jobs. We're people with histories and families and memories. Sharing them helps us connect. Connect, Thera repeated the word carefully. We don't have this concept in Velari culture. Maybe you should, Minho said gently. Something changed in Thera after that evening. She started bringing other warriors to meet the humans, young warriors mostly, ones who still had some light in their eyes. She claimed it was for intelligence gathering, but Jiho saw the truth. She was showing her people that another way existed. The young warriors were hungry for what the humans offered. They asked questions about Earth, about families, about friendship. One young warrior named Kira spent hours with Yuna, learning about human biology and emotions. She admitted quietly that she had tried to suppress her feelings for so long that she no longer knew what she felt about anything. That's not strength, Yuna told her. That's numbness. And numbness isn't living. Kira's markings glowed bright blue. I have never heard anyone say such things. We are taught that feeling is weakness. Who taught you that? Everyone. The commanders. The elders. The Empire. And do you believe them? Kira was quiet for a long time. I don't know what I believe anymore. But not everyone welcomed the humans' presence. On the 5th day, Jiho saw an older warrior named Vec watching them from across the training hall. His face was carved from stone, emotionless and cold. His markings were not just dark, they seemed dead, as if the light had been burned out of them permanently. Thera noticed Jiho's attention. That is Supreme Commander Vec. He is my direct superior. He commands this fleet. He doesn't seem happy that we're here. He is not. He believes human presence is contaminating the warriors. He sees your influence as dangerous. Dangerous how? You make them question. Warriors should not question. They should obey. That evening, Thera came to their quarters alone. She looked troubled, her movements less controlled than usual. We need to talk, she said. The cultural exchange ends tomorrow. You will return to your ship. Then political negotiations begin. My empire will give humanity an ultimatum. Submit or face destruction. Earth won't submit, Jiho said. I know. War will come, and I will be ordered to lead the assault on your colony world, Nova Terra. 50,000 humans live there. My orders will be to take the planet by force no matter the cost. The 3 humans stared at her. The reality of what was coming settled over them like ice water. Will you follow those orders? Yuna asked quietly. Thera's markings flashed through a dozen colors in rapid succession. Red, blue, black, gold, purple. She was losing control and she didn't seem to care anymore. I don't know, she whispered. 3 weeks ago I would have said yes without hesitation. I am a warrior. I follow orders. But now, after meeting you, after remembering what it feels like to experience beauty and connection, I don't know if I can kill people who have shown me such kindness. She sat down heavily on one of the sleeping platforms, her forearms hanging loosely. She looked exhausted. Your species has done something terrible to me, she said. You made me remember that I'm not just a weapon. You made me feel again, and now I cannot stop feeling. It hurts, Jiho. It physically hurts to feel this much after 40 cycles of numbness. Jiho sat beside her, not touching, but close. I'm sorry for the pain, but feeling pain means you're alive. Really alive, not just existing. My people will call it weakness. Your people are wrong. Thera looked at him, her large eyes bright with unshed tears. Jiho hadn't known Velari could cry. I have served the Empire my entire life, she said. I have conquered worlds. I have led warriors into battle. I have killed enemies without mercy. And for what? For an empire that taught me to hate the best parts of myself? That forced me to destroy my own capacity for joy? It's not too late to choose differently. Yes, it is. Tomorrow you leave. Next week war begins. I will follow my orders or be executed for treason. There is no other choice. There's always another choice, Minho said. It might be hard. It might be dangerous. But there's always a choice. Thera stood up. Her markings had gone completely dark again. Her face was a mask. No. There is no choice for warriors. I should not have brought you here. I should not have let myself hope for something different. That was my weakness, and I will correct it. She walked to the door. Jiho stood quickly. Thera, wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. Thank you, Jiho said. For trying. For caring. For showing us who you really are beneath the armor. 3 days passed. The Velari Empire issued their ultimatum. Earth had 24 hours to agree to tributary status or face military action. The first target would be Nova Terra, humanity's largest colony outside the solar system. Captain Deho called an emergency meeting. All senior officers gathered in the conference room. Jiho sat at the table feeling numb. 50,000 people lived on Nova Terra. Families, children, scientists and farmers and teachers, all of them about to die because humanity refused to bow. Earth Command has sent their response, Captain Deho announced. They will not submit. They're ordering all military vessels to Nova Terra to mount a defense. We leave within the hour. It's not enough, Commander Hana said quietly. She was the tactical officer. We have 12 ships. The Velari are bringing 40. We'll lose badly. Earth Command knows. But we fight anyway. That's what humans do. Jiho stood up. There has to be another way. Let me contact Commander Thera. Let me try to negotiate. Negotiate what? They've made their position clear. Submit or die. Not the Empire, Thera. I think she's struggling with this. I think if we reach her, if we remind her of what she felt when she was with us, she might what? Commit treason against her entire civilization? That's not realistic, Jiho. Maybe not. But it's the only chance we have. Captain Deho was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Try, but make it quick. We're out of time. Jiho rushed to the communications room. He opened a secure channel and sent a message to Thera's personal console. He waited, heart pounding. Minutes passed. No response. Maybe she was refusing to answer. Maybe she'd already decided to follow her orders and was closing off the part of herself that remembered how to feel. Then his console beeped. Thera's face appeared on the screen. She looked different, harder. Her markings were completely dark, but Jiho could see tension around her eyes. Jiho, I cannot speak with you. Communication with humans is now prohibited. I know, but I had to try. Thera, you don't have to do this. There's another way. There is no other way. My orders are clear. I will assault Nova Terra in 30 hours. Your species will submit or be destroyed. This is the Velari way. It doesn't have to be. You felt something different when you were with us. You remembered what it was like to be more than a warrior. Don't throw that away. Thera's markings flickered just for a second. Then they went dark again. That was weakness. I was contaminated by human emotion. I have corrected this error. You didn't correct anything. You just went back to being numb. That's not strength, Thera. That's giving up. I am a commander of the Velari Empire. I do not give up. I serve. You're a person who deserves to be happy, who deserves to watch sunrises and listen to music and feel connections with others. The Empire took that from you. Don't let them keep it. For a moment, Thera said nothing. Her face remained emotionless. But Jiho saw her hands clenching into fists just off screen. Goodbye, Jiho, she said finally. I am sorry it must end this way. You showed me kindness. I will remember that. But I will still follow my orders. The screen went black. Jiho sat in the silence, feeling hope drain away. He had failed. War was coming, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He returned to the conference room. Captain Deho looked at his face and knew the answer without asking. All crew to battle stations, the captain ordered. Set course for Nova Terra. Maximum speed. The horizon's edge jumped to faster-than-light travel. The journey would take 12 hours. 12 hours to prepare for a battle they couldn't win. Jiho couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Thera, about the way her markings had glowed when she heard music for the first time, about the tears in her eyes when she talked about watching sunrises as a child, about how she had looked at the cherry blossom tree like it was the most precious thing in the universe. He walked to the observation lounge. Yuna was already there, staring out at the distorted stars as they traveled faster than light. I keep thinking about Kira, Yuna said quietly. That young warrior who was so hungry to understand emotions. She was starting to open up, starting to believe there could be more to life than fighting, and now she's probably going to die attacking us or we're going to kill her defending ourselves. I know. Is this what first contact always looks like? Violence and death? Not always. But too often, they stood in silence. Then Jiho's console beeped. It was a message marked urgent and encrypted. The sender was listed as unknown. Jiho opened it with shaking hands. The message was from Thera, but it wasn't a video call. It was data. Lots of data, fleet positions, attack vectors, shield frequencies, weapon specifications, command codes. Everything humanity would need to know to defend Nova Terra effectively. And a short text message. I cannot stop my empire, but I can give you a fighting chance. Use this information. Protect your people. I am sorry I was not strong enough to choose differently, but perhaps this is my way of choosing. Thera. Jiho stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. Thera had just committed complete treason. She'd given Earth every military secret of the Velari assault fleet. If her people discovered what she'd done, they would execute her immediately. What is it? Yuna asked. A chance, Jiho whispered. She gave us a chance. He ran to the bridge. Captain Deho was in the command chair, reviewing defensive strategies. Jiho thrust his console toward him. Sir, you need to see this now. The captain read the data. His eyes widened. This is Velari military intelligence. Complete tactical information. How did you get this? Commander Thera sent it. She's helping us. Why would she betray her own people? Because we showed her that there's more to life than following orders. Because she's choosing to be a person instead of just a weapon. Captain Deho stood up. This changes everything. With this information, we can set up ambush positions. We can target their weak points. We might actually be able to defend Nova Terra. He immediately sent the data to Earth Command and to all human vessels. Within an hour, new defensive strategies were being formulated. The humans had gone from hopeless to having a real chance at survival, but Jiho couldn't celebrate, because he knew what this meant for Thera. 8 hours later, they arrived at Nova Terra. It was a beautiful planet, mostly covered in blue oceans with 3 large continents. 50,000 humans had built cities there. Farms, schools, homes. It was a new Earth full of hope and possibility. The human fleet took up defensive positions around the planet. 12 ships against 40. But now they had advantages. They knew where the Velari would attack. They knew the weak points in Velari shields. They had a chance. They waited. 3 hours. 5 hours. 8 hours. The tension on every ship was unbearable. Then they appeared. 40 Velari warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, exactly where Thera's intelligence said they would. The massive vessels moved into attack formation. "Here we go," Captain Deho said quietly. "All ships prepare to engage. Remember, target the specific weak points identified in the intelligence data. We only get one shot at this." But before anyone could fire, something unexpected happened. On the Velari command ship, the largest vessel in their fleet, there was a massive energy surge. Explosions rippled across its hull. Its weapon systems went dark. The ship began to drift, powerless. "What just happened?" Commander Hana shouted. "Did we fire? Did someone fire?" "Negative," the tactical officer reported. "That came from inside their ship. Someone sabotaged them from within." Jiho's heart stopped. He knew who had done it. There was only one person with access to the command ship's systems who would choose to destroy it. Thera. The Velari fleet fell into chaos. Without their command ship, they had no coordination. Ships broke formation, trying to understand what was happening. Some tried to attack. Others held position. The confusion was complete. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's coming from the Velari command ship. It's on all frequencies, broadcasting to every ship in both fleets." "Put it through," Captain Deho ordered. The screen filled with Thera's face, but she looked different. Her markings were glowing brilliantly, every color cycling across her skin in beautiful patterns. She wasn't trying to control them anymore. She was letting herself feel completely. Behind her, several young Velari warriors stood with weapons drawn. Kira was there, and others Jiho recognized from the cultural exchange. They had taken control of the bridge. "Warriors of the Velari Empire," Thera announced, her voice strong and clear. "I am Commander Thera. I have committed treason against our empire by sabotaging this vessel and sharing military intelligence with humanity. I do this not out of weakness but out of strength. The strength to choose a better path. For too long our people have existed only for war. We have suppressed our emotions, destroyed our capacity for joy, and told ourselves this was noble. It is not noble. It is death, a slow death of everything that makes life worth living. I have met humans, and they showed me what we have lost. They feel deeply, love freely, and create beauty for no reason except that beauty matters. They are not weak. They are fully alive in ways we have forgotten how to be. I refuse to kill them. I refuse to serve an empire that has stolen our souls. Join me, warriors. Remember what it feels like to be alive." The transmission ended. Silence filled every ship in both fleets. Then, slowly, something remarkable happened. On 3 Velari vessels, the battle that everyone expected never happened. Instead, the Velari fleet tore itself apart from within. Ships that chose to continue the assault found themselves facing not just humans, but their own people. Warriors who had spent their entire lives following orders were suddenly forced to choose sides. The oldest warriors, the ones like Supreme Commander Vec, who had buried their emotions so deep they could no longer remember what feelings were, tried to maintain control. They declared Thera a traitor and ordered all loyal warriors to destroy her ship and continue the attack on Nova Terra. But the younger warriors hesitated. They had seen Thera's broadcast. They had seen her markings glowing with every color of emotion, unashamed and beautiful. They had heard her words about being fully alive, and many of them had secretly felt the same emptiness, the same hunger for something more than endless war. On Thera's disabled command ship, chaos erupted. Beak stormed the bridge with loyal warriors determined to execute Thera personally. But Kira and the other young warriors who had joined Thera's rebellion fought back. The battle was fierce and quick. Vec was a legendary warrior, trained and experienced. But Kira and her companions were fighting for something he didn't understand. They were fighting for the right to feel, to be more than weapons. When the smoke cleared, Vec lay dead. The old way had fallen. Jiho watched from the horizon's edge as the Velari fleet fractured. Some ships remained hostile, but they were outnumbered now. Most of the fleet had powered down weapons and were waiting, uncertain what to do next. They had rebelled against their commanders, but they didn't know what came after rebellion. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's Commander Thera again. She's requesting to speak with you directly." Captain Deho nodded. "Put her through." Thera appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted. There was a cut on her face and one of her arms hung awkwardly. But her markings were still glowing, bright and alive. "Captain Deho," she said formally, "I am no longer a commander of the Velari Empire. I am a traitor to my people and a revolutionary without a plan, but I speak for approximately 30 vessels who have chosen to refuse their orders to attack humanity. We do not wish to fight, but we also cannot return to the Empire. We have nowhere to go." Captain Deho looked at Jiho. "What do you think?" "I think we offer them sanctuary," Jiho said immediately. "Novatera has space. If they're willing to live in peace, we should help them. They tried to conquer us an hour ago, and now they're refugees. That's what humans do, Captain. We help people who need help." Captain Deho was quiet for a moment. Then he turned back to the screen. "Commander Thera, humanity offers sanctuary to any Velari warrior who wishes to live in peace. You may land on Novatera. We will help you establish settlements, but there will be rules. No weapons, no aggressive action. You will be monitored until we can trust each other. Agreed?" Thera's markings flashed brilliant gold. "Agreed, and Captain, thank you. You show mercy to those who came to destroy you. That is true strength." Over the next week, an unprecedented thing happened. 30 Velari warships landed on Novatera. Thousands of warriors disembarked, most of them young, all of them lost and uncertain. They had spent their lives training for war, and suddenly they were being asked to build peace. It wasn't easy. Velari didn't know how to live in communities. They didn't know how to cooperate without military hierarchy. They struggled with the concept of friendship, of trust, of working together for shared goals rather than following orders. But humans helped them. Slowly, patiently, with endless compassion. Minho taught Velari warriors how to build homes instead of bunkers, how to create things that were beautiful as well as functional. He showed them that engineering could be an art, not just a tool for war. Yuna worked with Velari who were experiencing emotional overload. After decades of suppression, feeling everything at once was overwhelming. She taught them about emotional regulation, about healthy ways to process feelings, about the difference between feeling emotions and being controlled by them. Hana organized cultural exchange programs. Human children played with young Velari. Artists from both species created collaborative works. Musicians experimented with combining human melodies and Velari rhythms, and Jiho worked with Thera. She was struggling the most. She had led the rebellion, betrayed her entire civilization, killed her former commander. The guilt and confusion and fear were enormous. Her markings cycled through dark colors constantly. Red, black, deep purple. Jiho found her one evening on a cliff overlooking the ocean. She stood alone, all forearms wrapped around herself, watching the sunset. Her markings were flickering through so many colors it was dizzying. "You're remembering," Jiho said, walking up beside her. "What?" "You told me once that you used to watch sunrises when you were young. Before the trainers came." "This is like that, isn't it?" Thera was quiet. Then she nodded slowly. "Yes, I had forgotten how beautiful the sky could be. All those colors. It reminds me of what I lost. But you found it again. That's what matters. At what cost? I destroyed my career, my reputation, my entire life. I killed warriors who were only following orders just as I would have done. I am a traitor to my people. What am I now, Jiho? Who am I without the Empire?" Jiho looked at her. Her markings were glowing in the sunset light, making her skin shimmer with colors. Even covered in doubt and pain, she was magnificent. "You're Thera," he said simply. "A person who made a choice to be more than what others told you to be. A person who valued life over duty. A person who is learning every day how to be fully alive." That's who you are. Thera's markings shifted to soft gold. When you called me beautiful that first day, I thought you were insulting me. Warriors are not beautiful. We are effective, deadly, controlled. But you meant something different. I saw your potential, your wholeness, everything you could be if you let yourself. I am beginning to understand beauty, Thera said quietly. It is not just visual pleasure. It is recognition of value beyond function. You humans see beauty in everything. In flowers that serve no purpose. In music that accomplishes nothing. In connections that do not increase efficiency. You see beauty in simply being alive and experiencing existence fully. Yes, that's exactly it. I want to learn this. I want to teach it to my people. We have spent thousands of years perfecting death. Perhaps now we can learn life. Over the following months, something remarkable grew on Nova Terra. The first joint human Velari settlement. Buildings that combined human warmth with Velari efficiency. Gardens where earth plants grew alongside Velari crystals that chimed in the wind. Schools where children of both species learned together. The Velari were changing. Their markings glowed more often. They laughed, something humans had never heard from them before. It sounded like crystals chiming, beautiful and strange. They began creating art, expressing emotions they had suppressed for lifetimes. Some of them were clumsy at first, but the joy in their faces made Jiho's heart ache. Young warriors like Kira transformed the most. She became a leader in the community, teaching other Velari about emotions, about connection, about finding purpose beyond combat. She started a program teaching Velari children that it was safe to feel, that their markings were beautiful, that being alive meant more than being useful. Not everyone accepted the changes. Some Velari struggled too much with freedom and returned to their empire, preferring familiar emptiness to terrifying possibility. Some humans remained suspicious, unable to forgive the threat the Velari had posed, but most people on both sides chose hope. The Velari Empire, furious at the rebellion, sent diplomatic threats and demands. But they couldn't attack Nova Terra without starting a war they weren't certain they could win. The rebellion had proven that Velari warriors could be swayed, that their perfect control was fragile. The Empire retreated, focusing on maintaining control of their remaining territories while trying to suppress any news of what happened on Nova Terra. But news spread anyway. Stories of warriors who learned to feel again, of an entire fleet that chose peace over orders. Young Velari across the Empire began to question. Some tried to escape to Nova Terra. Others started quiet rebellions on their own worlds. The foundation of the Empire's power, absolute emotional control, had been cracked. One evening, 6 months after the failed invasion, Jiho and Thera stood together in the garden at the center of the joint settlement. The cherry blossom tree that had started everything had been transplanted here. It was in full bloom, delicate pink flowers everywhere. I have been thinking, Thera said, her markings glowing soft blue and gold, about what you said that first day. You called me beautiful before you knew anything about me except that I was a warrior who might kill you. Why? Jiho smiled. Because I saw beyond the armor and the weapons. I saw a being who was trying very hard not to feel anything, and I recognized that as pain. I saw someone who had been hurt by being told that their feelings were wrong. And I saw the colors starting to show on your markings even when you tried to hide them. All of that was beautiful to me. Your struggle, your hope, your potential. You saw me before I could see myself. That's what humans do. We look at people and see not just what they are, but what they could become. We call that hope.